Everything in the 90s was fire and rooftops. I even think this happened in Blank Check at one point.
Unless you have a pass for sports or something.
And is that what you did on the day in question?
The prosecutor asked the plaintiff questions facing the defendant rather than his own client through this entire scene. Aren't you supposed to project empathy for your client? Because this doesn't seem like a very good way to do it.
He said he was testing to see if I had any special feelings.
Just in case you didn't realize what a fucking scumbag this dude is, they make this guy's fingers slightly wet so that 2 minutes into this movie you have to go take a shower. Not every theater in the country had the facilities to accommodate this movie, so some operators had to hose customers down and dry them off before letting them back in to watch the remaining 2 hours and 20 minutes. You were encouraged to wear moisture-wicking fabric. No one except Kevin sees this.
I have nothing further.
Here, suffer the indignity of my glasses of shame.
As your attorney, I'm advising you to keep the away from me.
I imagine it's a good sound practice to yell at your client outside the courtroom after devastating testimony.
Never called him a disgusting pig monster.
Laughing at a pedophile's trial.
Your Honor, I've pre-marked this defense exhibit A.
Objection, Your Honor, we've had plenty of time for discovery here.
I'm gonna let this in, Mr. Lomax.
Basically, this movie tells us that every break Kevin needs is provided by Satan himself. And there's this thing called free will that makes people choose the bad stuff over the good. But this is an outright absurdity to allow a drawing that wasn't even given to the defense until their client was on the stand.
His life is on the line. This is not a joke.
I don't care if it's your job or not, yelling at a child on the stand who is accusing a teacher of sexually assaulting her will always be a sin.
Card, great. Black then, you being black.
Huh? How does that make a hypothetical practical joke better? That's racist. Church. I'm not sure the point of John Milton watching Kevin from afar at this moment in the movie. I mean, why not be in the courtroom and greet him? Is this stalking technique going to get him more information than normal? Man, look at the way Kevin calls a cab. That's my son.
Not guilty.
When you first watch this, you're like, yay, Kevin, you're the best. And then later you're like, oh, these are some really shitty people getting back on the street because of Kevin's magic satanic jury voodoo. Maybe I shouldn't even root for this guy. Why is the South African Charlize Theron way more convincing than American Keanu Reeves at playing Southern?
This is our home office, but we have quite a few international arrangements.
If John Milton's wanted his son to be part of the family business for so long, why didn't he build a Florida branch that would have lured Kevin into his circle early on? Or semi-directed Kevin's work to New York in the first place? So Heath just left Kevin behind? Wasn't he giving Kevin a tour? And how does Kevin know he's supposed to walk through these doors? There are hallways on either side of him that he could have to go down. Keanu Reeves, Al Pacino, in the same movie at last.
Upstairs, men's room, the Duval County Courthouse. There's a hole in the wall straight through to the next room. I spent 5 years listening to juries deliberate.
And nobody ever saw you doing it? And no other lawyer figured this out? For 5 years?
I need to warn you about one thing. There are going to be some very envious people down at the firm.
A moment later, the Heaths say that it took them 6 years to get an apartment like this. So they're really hammering that envy thing, but nothing ever comes of it.
Hell, let's go back to Gainesville. We'll go back to the condo. You can keep scrounging for clients and...
Scrounging for clients? Look, I'd want to stay in New York too, but why would Kevin have a hard time finding clients in Gainesville and surrounding areas when he's got an undefeated record and massive publicity from his last case? How the f*** would he have a hard time getting clients?
Walter Krasner, Maritime Law.
You said Harry Bentley wrong. Years before he got in legal trouble, movie had the foresight to put Jeffrey Jones in the satanic law firm.
You're going to be expediting his New York bar application, right?
It's in the pipeline. For now, we'll just have you work pro hoc vice.
Milton is the devil, and he can magically make the New York Bar Association do whatever he wants them to. But Kevin doesn't know that, and he should be very aware that Florida and New York do not have a reciprocity agreement, and he would have to take the New York bar exam.
I thought you said it was impossible.
I thought you said it was important.
Thinking that picking out patterns is important. Why is the first light halfway down the stairs? The outside light covers the top if you're coming through here during the day, but what about nighttime? Holy that is way too many candles for this small of an area. That entire floor should just be covered in wax if this is the amount Moyes is consistently burning.
With his tongue we create silence.
So the whole reason for Kevin to come down into this man's basement is so that he can tell him who the prosecuting attorney is, so that Delroy Lindo can do some voodoo? What the f***?
Caribbean green.
Why does Marianne paint the walls with the color she wants if she's going to keep asking Jackie for her approval? Why not get the color she approves of before putting it on the walls? I know the simplest answer to this is she needs to do whatever she likes and not worry about f***ing Jackie. But the movie seems to think she needs her approval, so... Movie expertly tells us what the real evil is. Fast food.
This is the first time since I've been 13 years old. I don't have a job. Or two. These feel like I'm floating around in that place.
One major problem with this movie is that Marianne's downward spiral is pretty f***ing important to the storyline, but she's in the movie so rarely we only see snippets. We also only see the extremes from here on out, but don't actually see the things that take her to those places. And in a movie that's over 2 hours and 20 minutes, a little more time could have been given to her. Why is Murto coughing just now? Is Moyes able to set a timetable with the tongue-cutting ceremony? Even if that was the case, how would he know when Murto was going to object or say anything? Are you telling me he hasn't tried to say anything up to this point? Also, this movie is actually saying that just because this attorney is having a coughing fit, that Kevin gets the dismissal that he wants. Like, wouldn't a judge call a recess and make sure this guy can go on? And if he couldn't, wouldn't another attorney show up to make the proper arguments? Did Kevin even need this coughing fit to get his dismissal? Sounded like he made a pretty good case.
Don't ever let him see you coming. Be the little guy. You know, the nerd, the leper, kicking surfer.
Wait, not to be insensitive, but you're telling me that no one would see a leper coming? And how is a kicking surfer innocuous? I mean, something like that may work for Johnny Utah, but it's not going to work for a lawyer.
I'm the hand of Mona Lisa's skirt. I'm a surprise, Kevin. They don't see me coming.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this metaphor. How does being the hand up Mona Lisa's skirt make you more of a surprise? I mean, I guess you could be saying that's why she has that smile on her face and nobody can see me because I'm just below the frame, but that's a huge insult to the observational skills of Leonardo da Vinci.
Wait,
John's asking about a chicken that can play tic-tac-toe, but I think it's just the movie wanted to show us that he's multilingual. We never get to see that f***ing chicken, and that's a shame. Built as a cock tease.
Donald Trump was supposed to be here tonight, but he had a business emergency.
What happened? Did someone from the accounting department accidentally pay a contractor?
You want me to pull my hair back?
No one will be seated during the Al Pacino gives beauty tips to Charlize Theron scene. Well, this background certainly looks real.
Bet you like to be on top.
Flirting with your half-brother. Flirting with your daughter.
I want you to go find Heath and Eddie Barzu. Bring him up to my place. Do it quietly.
I honestly don't understand the secrecy here. Why can't John just tell them to meet him up in the office? At this point, why can't he just find them and point up and they know it means to go there?
Pam, have you seen Kevin?
Jesus, how big is this place? How hard could it be to find him? Also, let's not forget John just told Kevin to go back inside and find Eddie and Heath. And he finds those guys almost f***ing immediately. He's wandering around the party finding people, so how did she miss him when he was doing all that?
Nope. No bedroom. Where's he sleep? Who says he sleeps?
Yeah, that's a normal answer. Kevin should be totally satisfied and not find it strange at all that the head of the firm's penthouse apartment is just one big room that looks like a medieval torture chamber.
Where does he f***?
Everywhere!
Welcome to one of the many moments that make this trash movie so enjoyable. It's like Keanu is the straight man and Pacino is the comic. It's all set up so that Keanu's weird lines can set up Pacino's zealous answers. This won't be the last time we're removing sins from this movie.
Whoa, there's Pam.
How is it possible that Pam has already made her way downtown, talked to Cullen, and is ready to report back to the team? She was just downstairs in Eddie's apartment a few minutes ago when Marianne was asking if she'd seen Kevin. And suddenly the building switched to red lighting to symbolize a descent into hell all of a sudden. It's pretty cool when your apartment knows what's up. Wait, the day after Alex's wife, stepson, and maid all get murdered, he goes to a construction site? Whether he's the killer or not, why would you do this?
You need immediate representation.
I have a 14-year-old stepdaughter who I care more about than anything in this world.
What the f*** does that have to do with what Kevin just said? Some parts of the screenplay feel like a chicken was picking out lines of dialogue from a hat. Maybe even that tic-tac-toe chicken John was telling us about. Why is this the moment Marianne sees that Jackie might have a demon inside her? I would say it's all in her head, except this movie is about the literal devil.
I don't know what to do.
Let's make a baby.
Make up baby making. In this movie, John makes a point to say that he doesn't make people do anything. He just presents opportunities that make people forget what's really important to them. So John is fantasizing about the fetching Christabella while he's about to have sex with his wife. The problem is, he's married to Charlize goddamn Theron. I know she, cut her hair, but damn! Also, another thing this movie handles poorly is allowing us to understand if what our characters are seeing is real or just in their minds. Is Christabella playing a mind game with Kevin, or is he just imagining this? It's probably the latter, but with the weird visions we've seen from both Marianne and Kevin up to this point, it's hard to know. I'm sure the movie wants to say it's devil but that's just lazy. And this movie is too good in other parts to get away with it.
2 prints by the gun. Right hand, right knee.
And I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling kids. Oh, and that f***ing knee print I left.
3 for you. And my place.
Where you will be having a threesome on a couch. And one of the participants is your daughter. But you know the old saying, when in Babylon. It's amazing that someone bothered to write an actual article under this headline, especially since it's the 90s and I'm mostly expecting some vague that has nothing to do with the headline at all. But what's more curious is that in a case where the movie finally shows a real article, you can't really read it because the text is so small on screen. How would Kevin not know about this? He or Cullen would have been contacted for a quote with a story that big.
Justice Department, Weaver Commission. You don't know about Weaver.
This sequence would make you think the Weaver Commission is vital to the film's storyline, but you'd be wrong.
Maricela, sua esposa. Il momento che salite dell'appartamento, ella stava arriba con Carlos.
So you'd think that John would want to keep a low profile and never just come out and show he's got these powers, especially since he lives by the hand up Mona Lisa's skirt and they don't see me coming philosophy. But I think this scene is entirely for the audience. And what would happen if he ran into someone whose wife wasn't cheating on him?
What did you say to him? I told him that if he didn't leave us alone, you were gonna kick his ass.
Kevin believes this.
The trumpet too.
Jesus. We see an almost fight on the subway. We see Roy Jones Jr. in the days he was known more as a boxer than he was for his role in The Matrix Reloaded. And now we're at this late night joint. It's insane that a movie with all that great Al Pacino speechifying wastes this much time on the way there. Public blowjobbing.
Baby, how'd you get here?
Assuming this is all Milton f***ing with Marianne, then why is he going about it this way? He's the motherfucking devil. If he needs her out of the way, he could just kill her, right? And yeah, maybe that would send Kevin down a spiraling path, but he could just take him to more boxing matches or whatever shitty husbands do to get over their dead wives.
Mary, it was a dream.
Not a dream if it's true.
Okay, so later in this scene, Marianne will tell Kevin that she went to the doctor and found out she can't have children. So why is she so certain that the nightmare she just had with the baby playing with her ovaries is real then? I mean, yeah, she's definitely tuned into the fact that this place is evil. Doesn't make sense that her previously healthy body can't produce children, but the dream is what got us here. If the doctor told her your ovaries are gone, then we'd have a case. Instead, we're supposed to believe actual cutting occurred. They could have just made this cancer and it would have done the trick. I guess a mainstream audience really needed to see a f***ing baby holding up ovaries.
They took my ovaries, Kevin.
This line is proof that there's nothing Charlize Theron can say that would kill a boner.
I knew the DA was holding out on us.
Oh yeah, DAs are notorious for withholding evidence just because. Sure, we could just say the devil made him do it, or some but in this case, the devil is the screenwriter looking for a way to get Kevin away from his wife, who clearly needs him.
I get 1 supervised hour a week with my stepdaughter.
Later we find out Cullen has 15 minutes left with his stepdaughter. Kevin can't spare 15 minutes.
I was boning my assistant the night my wife got shot.
Her nickname for me in bed is Mr. Incredible.
You know what scares me? I quit the case, she gets better, and I hate her for it.
This is John's gotcha later when Kevin accuses him of making him take the case. We know Kevin is driven, but one thing this movie doesn't really express is why he's willing to ignore Marianne to defend Cullen. Sure, the movie expresses the whole live in an awesome apartment in New York and make lots of money angle, but we haven't heard any backstory about why Kevin wants this so much to the point of ignoring his wife. Is it because he's from Florida and wants to prove a small-town lawyer can make it in the big city? Never expressed. Is it because he thinks he'll be a failure if he quits? He never says. There has to be a bigger motive than what is shown in this movie.
And when all that evidence is laid before you.
How has this trial already started? Even if this got moved up to as soon as possible, it would still be months before they got this case before a judge and a jury.
He's cheated the city, his partners, his employees.
Sure, Kevin's strategy is to tell the jury that Cullen is such a bad man that he was cheating on his wife the night she was murdered, but why do you have to throw in all the stuff about cheating the city, his partners, and employees? Why not go ahead and start with the cheating?
Listen to me like you've never listened to anybody before in your life.
Why'd you say something before?
And it doesn't look spontaneous.
Oh yeah, totally. Forget about the alibi. It's the spontaneity of reverse psychology that wins the day. Man, this remake of Marathon Man is terrible.
As they reach out toward their pristine, kybernetic keyboards.
Did John Milton just say kybernetic? It's weird because just the other day I was attacked by a kyborg, and while he was sampling my DNA, I asked him, why kyborg? And he said, hold on a sec. Yeah? Uh-huh. Oh. Uh-huh. I'm not allowed to share that information. So wait, is Marianne having a premonition about Eddie Barzoon for some reason? Why?
He's dead. He was killed.
When?
Last night, in the park.
First off, who the is that? Second off, you didn't hear them from that far away to answer that question. And third off, why did you think you needed to answer it?
He set me up. Cullen set me up. Melissa, the whole thing.
God damn it, this whole talking loudly about your client's guilt is really just a Kevin Lomax special, I guess. He's supposed to be a great defense attorney, right?
All right, Mr. Lomax, you may present your case.
I'm going to guess pausing this long before calling your A-list witness is not a great strategy. But hey, it works, so what the do I know? Maybe New York juries just really love Coach.
He let himself in, you need to know that.
Marianne is about to tell Kevin that she and John had sex, but she's going to play the pronoun game an extra long time to get there, 30 seconds to be exact.
He was in court in my presence all afternoon!
Oh, so Satan has the power to be in two places at once now. Why is he such a champion of riding on the subway if he can do that?
Chemical weapons and toxic waste.
Why is this Justice Department guy telling Kevin all the criminal he's looking into with Milton's firm? Don't you find out what a person knows before you reveal anything? If Milton has all this power, why wouldn't he have killed Weaver when he was worming his way into Eddie's life? Also, Jesus, look at this lackadaisical crossing the street without looking. You don't even need Satan's influence to die when you're this stupid.
What are you doing here?
I came this morning. I kept calling the house and getting no answer.
Wait, you called the house this morning and got no answer, and you felt like that was enough to go to New York at a moment's notice? Even if you've been calling for a week, Pam says she made the flight arrangements. Couldn't she have asked Pam to talk to Kevin?
We got her on the first flight up this morning.
And I didn't contact you and let you know because reasons.
Mayor, it's okay. Open the door!
Jesus, this hospital has the worst staff in history. And why was a patient allowed to be alone with someone before checking for potential weapons for self-harm? Where are the doctors? We have nosy patients. We have no nosy patients.
1966. You're in New York. There's a waiter in a restaurant.
Kevin's mom is about to tell him a story about how she met his dad, who was John Milton. But why would John be a waiter in a restaurant? I know Satan can be whatever he wants to get the people to do what he wants, but why a waiter?
I want to hear you say it.
The most frustrating scene in this movie is Kevin asking his mom to say it while she dodges the question in the most annoying manner for a full 20 seconds. And there's no use in this delay whatsoever because everyone watching knows John Milton is his dad, and I'm pretty sure he does, but it's all to build drama for a scene. For some reason, Satan turns the streets of New York into I Am Legend so he can have a meeting with his son.
But I'm no puppeteer, Kevin. I don't make things happen.
I feel like the movie is saying that John is telling the truth here. But what about the death of Eddie Barzoon? Sure, people running around in Central Park get mugged all the time, but these guys had demonic faces, and it happened just after Eddie threatened Kevin. And what else would have caused this dude from the Justice Department to just run into the middle of the street without looking straight into a speeding car? However, when it comes to two actors on screen monologuing each other to death, there's Grant Mason, Walken Hopper, and these 15 glorious minutes of Reeves Pacino.
Got me!
I get that Milton is the devil and the bullets wouldn't faze him, but his clothes aren't the devil. They should have bullet holes in them, and they do not. Also, has Kevin just been carrying around Cullen's gun since he took it from him? Why would he do that? And why didn't Kevin give it back to Cullen like he said he would once the trial was over?
What are you?
Oh, I have so many names.
Scene steals 7% of CinemaSins outtake material.
See, call me Dad.
As over-the-top and insane as this movie is for the first 2 hours, it's super odd that they choose now to dance around whether or not Milton is Satan.
What did you do?
You know what scares me, John? I leave the case, she gets better, and then I hate her for it.
Oh, wow. In addition to being the supreme leader of evil on Earth, Satan is also a goddamn great digital voice recorder. Also, what was up with this just a minute prior?
Was a nice run, Kev. Had to close out someday. Nobody wins them all.
Why doesn't he do the same thing when he's quoting the reporter guy? Also, John is adding a then that Kevin didn't say in the earlier interaction.
You know what scares me? I quit the case, she gets better, and I hate her for it. And then I hate her for it.
And yes, it's one word, but if you think we're going to let that go without sinning, then you don't know us very well.
Lose! I don't lose! I win! I win! I'm a lawyer! That's my job! That's what I do!
Taking it to the max.
Vanity is definitely my favorite sin.
Vanity?
I've had so many children. I've had so many disappointments. Mistake after mistake. And then there's you.
I really don't understand how a supernatural evil force has all these children for thousands of years, but somehow none of them until Kevin became suitable for his plan. It's like Ego in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. We're supposed to believe they rarely have special children, even though it's encoded in their DNA.
He sets the rules in opposition. Look, but don't touch. Touch, but don't taste. Taste, don't swallow.
Al Pacino makes you want to remove sins for Satan.
He's laughing his sick f***ing ass off. He's a tight ass. He's a sadist. He's an absentee landlord. Worship that? Never.
I mean, I'm really beginning to believe this is where the screenwriters started the script, and then they just put in a couple hours of trash to build up to it. It's entertaining trash, but trash nonetheless. And oh yeah, here's another sin-off.
I'm a fan of man.
Just gonna mention here that prior to seeing the subtitles, I went around for years trying to figure out what a fan of man was.
She's ovulating.
I feel like if John wanted to get Christabella and Kevin together for some baby making, he could have done that a lot sooner than this. I understand winning that case for the pedophile teacher was a big moment, but the movie's hinted at a number of other cases he shouldn't have won. How did John not know how special Kevin was earlier? Seems like he could have introduced Christabella to him before he even met Mary Ann. And that's another thing. The movie's saying that maybe John wasn't sure how awesome Kevin was until recently. But why couldn't he have set the stage for an unholy mating between many of his children and gotten an Antichrist a lot sooner?
Millennium's coming, son.
Actually, that had already gotten through one season before this movie was released, but John still had 2 seasons of Lance Henriksen goodness and supporting role in a later episode of The X-Files to look forward to.
How about the thing you love the most? Smile from a jury.
I thought we established that Kevin loves himself above all things. Can't figure out what's creepier here. Half-brother, half-sister sex, or the fact that they would be doing it in front of their father. I've decided that is a choice I just never want to have to make.
In 2 minutes, you won't be thinking about Marion ever again.
2 minutes? We won't show you Kevin's suicide, but how the does he have any bullets left? He shot John about 60 times, and twice more after that. No. Movie won't let John admit he's the devil, but is more than happy to go bonkers with all the shitty CGI for the finale. Guys, I no longer know what's going on here. Devil's Advocate inspires making Constantine movie 8 years prior to its release. Took 19 years, but a movie found a more ridiculous reset button than Superman flying around the Earth several times. Also, you. Even if this whole thing was a dream and you used Inception timing rules, there's no way he daydreamed that whole movie while standing at a bathroom sink. And if John really did do a reset, then he has magic that makes me wonder why he hasn't won the battle versus God already.
But I can no longer represent my client.
Yes, this teacher is guilty as and he deserves to go to jail for many years, but come on. This is still not fair to the defendant. I imagine you could ask the judge for a sidebar or something and tell him what's going on. Or you could throw the case by not bringing up the stuff you did when, I guess, you were dreaming.
Call me in the morning.
So then what? Does Kevin do interviews and continue being a lawyer after this? I guess he was dreaming before, so he could easily revert back to Satan isn't real kind of thinking. That would always be in the back of his mind, though, right? They really fell in love with that morphing technology at the end of this movie, didn't they? Also, was it a dream? Was it not? The movie wants it both ways, and all the other ways, so you can't tell what was real. But at least they ended it with the Rolling Stones' best song ever, Painted Black. Ernie Grunfeld's name gets misspelled in the credits and proves that even in 1997, the Knicks weren't getting any respect.
Hail Satan!
Now, if I said instead, this is a friend of ours, that would mean you were a made guy.
There's this beautiful girl just me 40 ways from Sunday.
I'm in bed the next day. She brought me cafe au lait, gives me a cigarette. My balls feel like concrete.
Say something nice.
You don't smell half as bad as you think you do.
When a woman unloads a husband, or a husband unloads a woman, however it happens, death, desertion, divorce, the 3 Ds.
Hello? Who is there? I got a knife.
Some folks call it a sling blade. I call it a kaiser blade.
They're the same model and size, time.
I want one thing from you. That's it. One thing.
Now imagine she's white.
Lose! I don't lose! I win! I win! I'm a lawyer!
I am an FBI agent!